If you haven't learned 2-needle flat stitch beading yet, then you're missing out on a really versatile technique that will unlock a whole new world of beading possibilities. In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you the basics of 2-needle method for beading around a cabochon. So let's get started. You'll need needles, of course. I like size 10 Pony brand beading needles. You'll also need size 11 seed beads. I'm using antique gold, which is available on my site. And I'm also using Miyuki beading thread, but you can use any nylon beading thread that you prefer. You'll also want a thread conditioning bar like this one from my shop or a pure beeswax. And lastly, I like to work on a beading mat to keep my beads in place. Prep your workspace and lay out your beads, then cut 2 pieces of thread. Start with a small amount of thread until you get more comfortable, so about 60 centimeters or so. Next, place your thread on top of your wax and apply pressure with your thumb as you pull your thread through. This will apply a thin layer of wax to your thread, making it easier to manage and will help you avoid knots. Then slip the thread through your fingers to remove any excess. Next, thread 2 needles. For the first needle, tie both ends together using a quilter's knot. This will be your beading needle. For the second needle, tie a knot just on one end of the thread. This will be your tacking needle. If you have trouble remembering which needle is which, practice using 2 different color threads. Now you're prepped and ready to begin beading. The first step is to use your beading needle to poke up through your felt, accommodating for the size of your bead. Then pull through. Next, load up your needle with 4 beads to start. Then wrap your beads around your cabochon and using your thumb, push the beads towards the start of your thread, allowing for a bit of space in the front so the first bead isn't overcrowded. Now we'll introduce your tacking needle. Push your needle up through the felt on one side of the beads between the first and second bead like this, then pull through. Next, stick your needle down through the felt on the other side of the beads and pull through snug but not tight. This will create a loop of thread in between the beads, keeping them in place. We call this tacking down the beads. Now we'll do the same for the next space, poking the needle up through one side of the beads, then down through the other side to create a tack. Keep going with this tacking method until you run out of beads. Then slide 3 to 4 more beads into place and continue tacking. Then continue tacking until you get all the way back to the start of your very first tacked beads. This is the tricky part. You want to find just the right amount of beads to fit into the remaining space. Too few and there will be too much empty space causing gaps. Too many and your beads will be overcrowded and bulge out. Make sure you're compensating for the space that will be occupied by your tacking thread. In other words, give a little breathing room because your tacking thread will cause there to be less space than you think. Once you've selected your last few beads, slide off any excess beads. Then thread the needle through the first few beads you started with. Pull through and tack down the last beads. From here, you'll continue threading through all your beads once more using your beading needle. This adds extra stability. If you're having trouble fitting your needle through the beads, make sure you're using the correct size thread and needle for your bead size. When you return to roughly where you started, push your needle down between the beads. Then flip your work over to tie off both threads. To do this, slide your needle through a small bit of felt and pull through until you create a loop. Then wrap the loop around your needle a few times and pull your thread so that the loop tightens, pulling the needle towards your felt. Once that is tight, press your finger down on the loop and pull the needle through. This will create a secured knot. At this point, you can cut off your thread, or if you want to be a little extra like me, thread through just below the surface of your felt and pull through to secure the tail thread within the felt before cutting or burning off the excess. This just makes it look a little more tidy. Repeat the same process for your second needle. You can add multiple rows and different patterns to create a gorgeous piece of jewelry like this. If you're excited to learn more about flat stitch, check out this other tutorial where I show you how to make beaded heart earrings. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next tutorial.